Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live match preview show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. Now, games are coming thick and fast, as confirmed by Arne Slot today. Uh, Sound like he was complaining a little bit, but hey, when you're a big team, you are always going to play an abundance of games, so you need to get used to it. So today we will talk about our opponent, which is Brighton, in the fourth round of the FA Cup. Plus, we will speak about some of the comments made by Arne Slot in the press conference, as well as predict the lineups and the score prediction as well. So let's start with assessing our opponents in Brighton. So currently 14th in the league, which was a slight surprise looking at the league table, as I feel like they're a lot better than what they're currently showing in terms of their ranking. So yeah, a bit of a surprise in terms of where they are. 26 games played, 7 wins, 10 draws, and 9 defeats. Now, in terms of Liverpool, Arne Slot seems to be having sleepless nights, as he said that he couldn't sleep well due to constantly thinking about what options he has for the lineup that should be taking place tomorrow. And he says that he needs another 24 hours before deciding who starts. Also confirmed that we have three priorities, which is obviously to say, which is the FA Cup, qualifying for the Champions League, and also participate in the current season's Champions League. So he has to consider the squad very carefully. Uh, Stated the obvious, but he said that we have limited options. So the load management is very important right now. In terms of him being asked about academy players, because if you would know from the last few years, Klopp was always a coach that would like to embed young players during these type of games. Also said that he's always looking at these young players. A few of them have come closer and closer to the first team with Rio and Trey Nyoni getting some game time. But it's also about finding the right balance, which to be fair, I will have to agree with that. You do have to find the right balance. It's not always just about embedding youngsters for the sake of it. You do have to make sure that they're ready and they're able to have an impact in the team as well. He was also asked about set pieces, which is a bit of a random question. It says that he said that it's gone through the roof in terms of how important it is. It's impossible to win the league if you have a negative set piece balance like we do, which is quite alarming. But this season has shown that Premier League has become as physical as ever. Basically, we're talking about probably in the 90s where it was very physical. Proper English style of playing football. The game has gotten a little less technical now, which for the neutral viewer, I don't think that appeals to many, but it's just one of those things where you have to adapt with the times, and I think that's something the recruitment team kind of missed, not assessing how the game was being played last season in terms of the magnitude of the league, and how other teams were performing rather than just looking at ourselves. I feel like the team that we have is probably more suited to European competitions like the Champions League. They might switch the script and say that, well, that was our focus this year to win the Champions League. That's why we went for more technicians rather than physical led type players. But we'll see what happens as the season goes on. Um, and then there's this Hungarian journalist that's always asking questions about Sabozlai and Kerkez, and Slot said that, look, in terms of Kerkez, he's shown this season that defensively is very solid. He's able to defend 1v1 against the best wingers in the world. I, I don't think the league has the best wingers in the world, quite frankly. I know Arsenal fans will be screaming at the screen saying, what about Saka? Saka's quality. I'm not going to just deny that. I don't think he's world class, in my opinion. If we were in La Liga, Yamal, Rafinha, I know he plays on the left, but he can also play on the right. That's the type of players that I'm thinking are world class. I'd probably even put Elise in that bracket. In terms of the new up and coming players right now, that's the kind of players that I feel like are going to become world class at some stage. Saka could be there as well, but for me, he doesn't really put up the numbers. But in terms of Kirkes, that is a very much a positive. And I do agree. I do feel like one on one, he's quite a solid defender. I feel like there's areas in this game where, of course, he can improve. He's only 21 years of age. In terms of his positional sense, and playing with a bit more of a calmer head, which I feel like he has, adapted in the last few weeks. So he's definitely showing improvement, which is a great sign. He hasn't folded under pressure. He hasn't, you know, tried to, put himself in a corner and feel sorry for himself. He's worked hard. He's tried to improve his game, and he's getting his rewards right now. So credit to him in terms of showing resilience and determination to improve, because he knows what it means to play for a team like Liverpool. So he's definitely a sponge right now, listening to all the information from the coaching staff, and it looks like all that hard work in the training ground is paying off. And then Slot spoke about Szoboszlai, and yeah, he said all the right things in my opinion. In terms of Szoboszlai's qualities, close to ridiculous on and off the ball, work rate on another level, which we all know. Plays with great intensity, the way he presses, unbelievable technique, game insight, offensive midfielder, right back, right winger. I wouldn't want to say he's a right back, but yeah, unfortunately, he has played there a lot this season. He can play right wing, which I've seen over the years, especially in his days at Red Bull Leipzig. He's also played on the left wing as well. So he's a player that is vital for us and was last season as well. And he says that he hopes to continue to be that for us. So look, make sure you give him the right contract, because he needs to be signed up as soon as possible, in my opinion. Now, in terms of the team news, unfortunately, Slot said that Endo is still being assessed. We're not exactly certain what the injury is, but he has confirmed that he will be out for quite a long time, which is quite worrying to hear. And hopefully, I'm praying that he can make a speedy recovery, whatever the injury is, because it's a shame to how that happens on the pitch. And, a player of his age as well, it could be career threatening the way they're not being clear cut right now. So hopefully, it's nothing too serious and it's just a few months layoff rather than it being a severe long term injury. So yeah, fingers crossed that it's not as bad as it sounds right now. But unfortunately, that's a negative. Just to look on a more of a positive side, there is some news regarding an injury update, and that is Alexander Isak. Now, you can see on the screen, he's got a beard right now, so he's looking very grizzly right now. He's ready to put in the work and get back to first team action. So he's returned to light training as part of his injury rehab, which is a very positive sight. Sweden manager Graham Potter is already talking about Isak returning to action for the Swedish national team in March, as they have a World Cup semi-final playoff type fixture. For me, he needs to pipe down. We don't care about that. For me, Isak needs to regain full fitness and not be rushed into playing fixtures for the national team. His focus needs to be, look out for himself, number one. Graham Porter's just thinking more of a selfish point of view that, we need him for the playoff. It's not about one game. We need this guy to be playing, week in, week out. So yeah, I couldn't really care less in regards to what Graham Potter has to say. But in terms of the squad, Jeremy Frimpong, Conor Bradley, and Giovanni Leone all remain on the sidelines. Now, in terms of Brighton, Zimas Webster, Solly March, and Yasin Ayari are all out with injuries. But Max Vifa, a player that Arne Slot will definitely know from his final days, is available to return to matchday squad after recovering from a toe injury. So that's the team news. I'm just going to go through some of the comments before we present the graphic and predict the lineups. So let's start from the top. Bo, big up. Bo, big up. Big up. So hope you're well, Bo. He says, honest question. Why do you think there are still people backing Slot after the awful results and comments after every game? I don't get it. Um, I think as a fan base, we are very loyal to the coach slash head coach slash manager, whatever the job title is. So I think that's kind of part of our DNA, where we are overly supportive through thick and thin. That's the kind of vibe I get from the fans that are slotting right now. And I'm not saying the fans that are slot out, including myself, are not loyal fans. I'm not saying that at all. It's just that for me, we have reached different heights in the last 10, 15 years. And because of that, expectations have changed as a club. When we were challenging for Champions League and spots and missing out, on occasions, under like the likes of Houllier and Rafa and Brendan Rodgers. There was never a guarantee that we would qualify for European football. Since we've had Jurgen Klopp, we've pretty much secured that sort of status, and we've made ourselves as one of the most complete teams in Europe. So with that, we enjoyed a lot of success under Jurgen Klopp. So the expectations changes from the fan base as it should, because we have been very successful over the years. We're not like Arsenal fans. We're not just piping up for no reason. We've won trophies. We've got silverware to back it up. So that's how I'm looking at it. Where the fans that still slot in are just being very loyal, which I understand to an element, but at the same time, I'm looking at the bigger picture where if we don't qualify for the Champions League, we're in big, big trouble. And it can have a severe impact in how we progress and operate as a club going forward. So it's all good and well being loyal to an individual, but this is just a head coach. I'm thinking about the whole football club. We need to make sure that we have the right man that can take us forward. And I don't think Arne Slot is the right guy personally. So, I think that's where the backing comes from certain fans in our fan base. Um, Whether you're right or wrong, I think everyone is entitled to their opinion. But for me, I've been saying for a few months, which I'm sure you guys will know, especially if you watch me regularly. Um, Not happy with the current manager, and definitely feel like there needs to be a change going forward. Bo says they honestly think Slot is bigger than the club. He's not bigger than the club. No one's ever bigger than the club, in my opinion. Bo says watch Slot pick a top team tomorrow, and then complain about too many games after Forest. He's already complained about it in the press conference today. He was saying, we've played 3 games in 7, um, 7 days. Yeah, yeah, we're a little football club. We're supposed to play a lot of amount of games. If you want to be the best, you're going to challenge for all the titles, aren't you? So I don't know what he's moaning about, quite frankly. But also, Ozzy's late due to having dinner with his client Florian today. Apologies, I had to do a few things at home, so yeah, that's the reason why I'm delayed. But no, formal dinners with my client, unfortunately. But I'm sure I'll schedule that soon with Florian very, very soon. That's this, yo, bro, Ozzy, bro, big up, but that's off your well. Um, Welbeck feeling a hat trick, Oh no, hopefully not. And he's a funny striker, because I think he's always been very talented, but the older he's gotten, like he's become more clinical, which is weird to say. But he's definitely a danger man in this fixture, so we got to make sure we keep him quiet. Ozan, big up Ozan, as always says, the man Ozzy, big up yourself, Ozan. Hope you're well. He says, "Don't worry, Ozzy, Watar will be fit for the Champions League final. I hope so. I hope so." Is Milner fit? I believe he is, and I think he might be even in contention to start for this fixture. He just made an appearance quite recently as he equaled Gareth Barry's tally for the most appearances in the Premier League. So he's just, notching those appearances up, and I strongly believe he will be the top of the charts for the most appearances in the Premier League. So yeah, I think he will be available for this fixture. Now, let's move on and present my predicted lineups for both teams. We'll start with the away team. Um, Let me get this graphic away. It's not that kind of show. Um, okay, Brighton. Now, I looked at the lineup that they recently presented in their Premier League fixture. Let me just read out the lineup so you guys have a bit of an idea in terms of why I think they will rotate the squad quite heavy. So they lost to Aston Villa uh, on Wednesday, and the team they had was Verbruggen, which he's normally first choice. Kadioglu left back, Dunk, Van Heck, and Veltman, and you got Baliba, Hinshelwood, and then Mitoma, Gross, Gomez on the right, and Danny Welbeck up top. So I think they'll rotate from that team. I don't think it will be the same sort of team selection. So I don't know. I might be completely wrong, um, but this is the team that I feel like will start tomorrow. Will they rotate the keeper? I think they might, and I think it's still is the one that will come in. So I'll say he's in goal. And the only reason why I feel like they'll rotate heavy is because I don't think FA Cup is a priority for them. I think they would rather concentrate on improving their league form because they're quite low in the table. So I think they'll rotate in this one, quite frankly. There will be some first team players that starting against Villa that will play in this fixture, but I don't think it will be the whole team, if that makes sense. So at right back, I think Veltman will remain in that role. And then uh, got Dunk. And then we have the French left-footed centre back in Post Postcagli. So I think he'll start. He'll be rotated. Uh, and then the Kuiper, who is someone that I think is very, very talented, so one to look out for in this fixture. Uh, Belieber, I think will start in this one. And I think they might start Milner. That's just my pick there. So I think James Milner might start in this game. It'll be good to see him in action. Minte, he'll definitely return. He's going to be an absolute live wire for Brighton in this fixture. And then Rutte, who has done really well actually in that number 10 role for Brighton this season. And then Toma, who I'm sure gives nightmares to Trent every so days because yeah, he caused havoc on that part of the pitch. And I think Danny Welbeck will lead the line up top. So not a fully rotated squad, but you've got a few players that have been brought in just to freshen up. So I think this will be the predicted lineup for Brighton. So feel free to drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. Now, in terms of the danger men in this one, I think Danny Welbeck, due to his clinical finishing up top, he's definitely going to be someone we have to keep quiet because he can score all types of goals. I know he's approaching the latter stages of his career, but he's still effective in and around the box. So that's a player we definitely need to look out for. Mitoma hasn't been in sparkling form as he has been over the years, but for me, he can still be an issue for us, especially where right back has been a problem position for us, and he'll definitely take advantage of that. Minte, an absolute live wire. But I'm sure whoever plays left, whether it's Robertson or Kirkes, will do their best to stop him from having any impact up top. But I do feel like he's the one that we got to be careful of. And Rutte as well, Georgina Rutte. So he's someone that, plays in that number 10 role. But over the years, he's played as a striker. So he can definitely find himself in more advanced roles, but can also drop deep and help out in terms of the defensive element of his game, in terms of, protecting, not protecting, but as in dropping deep and getting involved in midfield, but also can go up top on the counter and uses pace and physicality really well. So he's the one someone to look out for. We know what James Milner as well. I don't need to go into detail of him. Believer, one I'm looking out for, is a player we've been linked with continuously in the past year or so. I feel like his stock has reduced a little bit personally. I don't think he's been as impactful as he was last season. Maybe that was down to the speculation over the summer where he was expected to join Manchester United and that move never materialized. So maybe that's the reason why he hasn't been as impactful as he was last year. So yeah, I want to see where his head's at and see if he's still that caliber player that I feel like maybe we could target because I do feel like we need to sign a number 6 and he could be a realistic target in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, he will probably cost an arm and a leg, but I still feel like he's a player that definitely add that physical presence in our midfield, but can still have, that technical element of his game where he can, pass the ball really well with his different variation of passing. Um, and he can shoot as well. He's got a decent shot on him. So, he could definitely be an asset for us. But that's another conversation for another day. So this is my predicted lineup for Brighton. So let's move on and present the predicted lineup for Liverpool. So I'm going to cheat here slightly. I'm going to predict the lineup that I think Slot will go with, and then I'll let you guys decide in the chat. And then I'm going to present my predicted lineup because I don't quite agree with what I think Slot will do. So I'll just give you my take in terms of what I would do in this fixture. Um, so I think Allison will start. I think a lot will expect Mamadashvili to be in goal, but I think he's going to go strong in this fixture. And the reason why I think he'll go strong is because our next fixture isn't until next Sunday, which is 8 days away against Forest. So I know we've played 3 games in 7 days, as you know he's alluded to earlier in the press conference today. But he'll just tell his player, look, we've got another game, but then you get a few days rest and then recover, and then we'll be back at it next weekend onwards. So I think he's going to go strong in this game. Now, right back, where do we go? So Bosley returns. Does he place him in that role? Unfortunately, I think he will. So I think Sabozlai will be playing as a right back, which is not what I want to see. But I think that's what Slot will do. Konate will be in the team. I don't think Joe Gomez will be involved. I think he'll be someone that we can bring off the bench, but I don't think he'll start in this fixture. So Van Dijk, Konate, and I think Kirkes will be reinstated after Robertson started in the previous game against Sunderland. In double pivot, I'm expecting it to be Gravenberch alongside McAllister. And on the right side, I don't think there'll be too many debates. Mohamed Salah, my client, Florian Wirtz, and the son-in-law in Cody Gakpo and Ekitike up top. So this is what I think Slot will go for. So feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Do you think this will be the team that starts tomorrow? Because I do genuinely believe that Slot will go very, very strong tomorrow. So let me know what you guys think. I'm just gonna go through some of the comments and take it from there, and then I'll present my team. So I wouldn't quite do it in this way. I would probably go a bit strong as well, but not in this form. But I'll explain very, very shortly. Let's see. Daz with his line is Allison, Joe Gomez at right back, Ibu, Herkes, Ryan Mata, Dom, Jones, Mo, Cody, and Vats. JK, big up JK, says bless bro. Hope you're well, JK. Um, this is Bo's team selection here. So he's gone for Mama Dashvili, Ramsey, Gomez, Ibu, Kirkes, Jones, Sobozlai, Rio, Neoni, Chiesa, TK. As great as that would be, I don't think he'll start that team. But I think if we had a fully fit squad, I think maybe he'll rotate a bit more heavy and maybe there's something close to what you've presented there. But at this stage, I don't think he will. I feel like there's too much pressure on the line where he probably feels like in the back of his head he needs to deliver a trophy this season in order for him to remain at the job. So I think that's the way he's looking at things right now. Um, let's go through some of the comments there. If all fit Ozzy would Slot have gone strongest? I don't think so. I think he'll rotate a bit more, but I feel like he feels the pressure, and due to limitations in terms of who we can bring in, I think he has no choice but to go strong. To be fair, it's been the first time I've seen you, lad. I hope all is cool, man. The son-in-law. It feels like he's the son-in-law. He's always in the team. He's getting uh favorite sort of treatment there, or preferential treatment, I should say. It's a lot of favoritism in terms of the team selection. I say so. Yeah, something's up. That's all I'm gonna say in regards to his team selection. That says I think Rio starts on the left. Drop Cody. Um, we'll speak about Rio. I don't think Slot will start with Rio, but that's just my opinion. JK says I will go with Allison, Ramsey, Konate, Gomez, Kirkes, Grab, Mac, Vert, Salah, Chiesa, and Rio, with Virgil, Katika, Gakpo, and Sabozda on the bench, who all need a rest. I agree to that. I think we have to make sure we look after these players and not burn them out because they are very pivotal in terms of how our season ends, whether it's a top 4/top 5 finish or we win a trophy, who knows? But I agree. We do need to look after these players and make sure that they're not being used, too much. And as I mentioned previously, our next fixture isn't until next Sunday, which I believe is the 22nd of Feb. So 8 days after this fixture. So plenty of time for them to recover and get back into full match fitness. So yeah, I don't think we need to go too crazy with the rotation. Um, but yeah, there's a few things that I'll do. So I might as well present that now. So I wouldn't play Szoboszlai in this game. I would have him on the bench. I wouldn't have him out of the squad. I just wouldn't have him in this game. I feel like he needs a bit of a breather. I know he had a one-match suspension, but another game won't do any harm, in my opinion. So I would have him on the bench if needed. Then you bring him on. Um, who else would I not have in this team? People think I have an agenda with this fella, but I don't. I wouldn't have McAllister. Um, I wouldn't have Gakpo in this team either. Would I have Mamadishvili in this game? Probably not. Um, it sounds harsh because he was brought in to play cup games, wasn't he? But I feel like we're at this stage where it's not just about rotating the team for the sake of it. So I wouldn't start with Mamadashvili, and I don't think Slot will either. But this is my predicted line, so I'm going to go with Ramsey. Yeah, I said it. Ramsey at right back. He has to be given a chance now. Like, God forbid, if we have any more injuries, what does this guy need to do to get some game time? We've gone through all the right backs, they're all injured. We've gone through midfielders, they're picking up injuries now. Mamadashvili might get some game time. He might start a right back before Calvin Ramsey does. So, I feel for the kid, man, because he's there. He's not really getting much game time. Yes, he's playing under 21s, but that's not really his level. He should be playing, not saying he's a Premier League player, but he should be sort of being given a chance to play for the first team, or be in and around the squad at least. A few appearances here and there. Because when he played against Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup, I thought he did a decent job, despite us being quite awful that day. So I don't know. I'm trying to put that positive out there in the universe for him to get a start. Will he get it? I don't know, but this is what I would do in this situation. I know this is not his favorite guy right now, but Curtis Jones has to be in the team. Look how he came on against Sunderland and impacted the game. So for me, he's such a likable player in my eyes. He's probably not likable to Slot. Slot probably hates him right now, because he backchats and has issues with him on the pitch. But in general terms, he's a player that plays with his heart on his sleeves. He plays like a fan on the pitch, where he's energetic, he's aggressive, he's tenacious. He's doing everything he can to appease the fans, and that's what you want. You want that you want that type of player in your squad, in your team. So for me, he deserves a start now. He hasn't started since that Burnley game, which ironically was the game that he had that spat with Slot on the touchline. Um, so I don't know. And of course, he's been linked with moves away from the club since then as well. We've got to think about the team right now. I feel like bygones should be bygones, and please bring him into the team. And whatever the future holds, let that be at the end of the season rather than right now. So bring him in, rotate the midfield, freshen up a little bit. McAllister's actually done really well in the last few weeks. I feel like this might be the game where you just make a little tweak here and there and see how we do. And on the left, I'm going for Rio. I think Rio deserves some game time now. If against Brighton, who are a very strong Premier League side, so I think this would be a great test for him to see, what level he's at right now. And I think this would be the perfect opportunity to do that. Gakpo has played consistently in the last few games and has consistently been poor as well at the same time. So we've got to switch up, give the kid an opportunity, see how he does. And if he has a blind of a game, then we've got another viable option for that left wing this current campaign. So this is the team that I would do. So feel free to let me know if you agree, you disagree, or you think I've lost the plot. Feel free to let me know. So this is a team that I would like to see starting against Brighton. Just going to go through some of the comments here before I present my score prediction. Um, JK, yes, confirming that it's an 8-day gap. Exactly. So after tomorrow's game, it's an 8-day gap. So why not? Um, is Forest away? Yes. So it's Forest away. JK saying keep Allison in goal. I feel like that's what I would do, and I think Slot will do that as well. But I think a lot of fans will be like, well, we've brought him in to be a sort of a second choice keeper that plays the cup games, like Kelleher did as well. But from my personal point of view, I've not been overly impressed with Mamardashvili. If we still had Kelleher, then I probably would actually play Kelleher in this game just because I know what to expect from him. I don't want it to where we bring in a goalkeeper and because he's been inactive, he's prone to making errors. Right now, we're looking more defensively assured. I don't really want my goalkeeper making errors that leads to goals, and we're out of the FA Cup. So for me, we need to try and get a win, try and win this trophy as well. More importantly, we need some sort of. I know FA Cup might not be on top of everyone's list, but it's something. It's something to grab onto, and I know not a lot of fans, but I know some fans feel like Champions League could be there as well. I'm not that optimistic just because I feel like we don't have the strength and depth to compete in that competition. But the FA Cup feels like we could definitely go on a run and go to the final stage and hopefully win some silver. That's the plan. So let's see what Liverpool do. In terms of my score predictions, I am going for a win. Surprise, surprise. Well, it shouldn't be, should it? I'm going for a narrow win. I'm going for a 1-0 win for the Reds. And I think the goal scorer will be Hugo Ekitike. That's my guy right now. So I think he will get the defining moment that puts us through into the next round. So feel free to drop a comment, let me know your scoreline for this match. Uh, JK, I've been laughing to one of my comments there. Dad's agreeing with me. JK saying it's a sound team. So yeah, hopefully this is a team that we see tomorrow. I think it's a team that isn't really outlandish, but um, who knows? Who knows where Slot's mind is at right now? JK's gone for 3-0 victory. That would be great. I think Brighton, they're always a team that steps up against us, especially at Anfield. We don't have a great record with them at Anfield, so I don't know. I know the league table will suggest that they're not doing great, but they're a very technical team, so they've still got players that can hurt us, unfortunately. But because I feel like we've been more defensively sound, I still feel like we have the edge on them. So I'm going for a narrow win just because I don't feel like this team is scoring an abundance of goals in recent times. So that's what I'm going for. So more of a narrow scoreline. Ozzy says, will winning the FA Cup turn your faith in Scotland, Ozzy? Or is it not enough? It's not enough for me. Of course, if someone wins the silverware, it's something that you should be happy and proud about. At the same time, and that's not me being disrespectful in regards to the FA Cup, but that's not enough for me. Only because we haven't challenged for the title. We haven't, as current Premier League champions, we haven't we haven't really led this sort of campaign the way it should be led, if that makes sense. As current champions, you should be trying to go back to back and showing everyone why you are the champions. We've been a shadow of ourselves since last season. We pretty much threw in the white towel in November. Like, who does that? Like, fans are telling me that, oh, this is the worst defense from a Premier League champion ever. It probably is. I'm not going to look down in terms of the history. I don't really care. But in terms of recency bias, yeah, it feels like it because we spent so much money in the summer, but we've digressed as a team. So for me, that doesn't really make sense either. So if Slot was to win the FA Cup, yes, I'll be happy that we won some silverware, but for me, the priority should have been back-to-back league titles, or at least challenge. If you're close enough, you've given it a go, right? But in November, 9 defeats in 12 games. That figure will always stick in my mind. That should have been the time where we had dismissed him, but we didn't. And right now we're sixth place. We're not far from fourth, but it feels like there's a bit of inconsistency in terms of how we're playing and how we're gaining points. So even right now, I can't even say with chest that we're going to get top four. So to answer your question, I don't think it's enough. He was, presented as a case to the owners and be like, look, league title last year, got FA Cup, a trophy that is renowned to be important in English football, in English culture. So, he's going to paint that picture and all that nonsense. Um, I don't think it's enough personally, just because of the way the season's planned out. It's not just about winning silverware, it's in terms of how the team has performed this season. And under his leadership, under his coaching, under his tutelage, however you want to describe it, it hasn't been good enough. So that's the way I would look at it. So let's see. If he was to win the Champions League, I don't think he can get sacked. I think he will probably be given another season, just because that's the biggest trophy out there, and you can't really fluke it like that, in my opinion. So yeah, Dad says free now. Pick up to himself. It says Mo, Hugo, and free kick from Dom. Okay, I wouldn't mind seeing the free kick from Dominic Szoboszlai at all. No, no, no. Ozzy can't be one. He's at our side now. Look, I've been slut out for quite a few months. So for me, my stance hasn't changed, but I will always, present the case that look, if Liverpool are winning, I'm happy because it's my team. I'm not here just to support individuals here. And I want us to be in the top four. If that keeps him at the job, it's not what I want, but it is what it is in that regards, I guess. But if you were to ask my opinion, it doesn't really matter if he wins. If he finishes in the top four/top five, whatever gets you Champions League football, and wins the FA Cup, I don't think that's enough personally. Champions League, then yeah, unfortunately he's gonna be given another season, probably be given a new contract as well. Um, so I'm not gonna wish that we don't win. I would love for us to win the Champions League because just think about when we won in 2005. That's my earliest memory. That was sensational, right? And of course, we won it not so long ago as well. So, and those were like really, really special sort of celebrations, and the way we won those games as well. It's definitely something that sticks in your mind, isn't it? So if we were to win it again, why not? But um, yeah, let me know in the chat because I feel like this would be a thing where if we were to win the Champions League, would you be happy about it? Of course, that sounds like a stupid question, but that will ultimately give Slot another season at least in the helms. I also read today that we spoke about it last night, but I also read today that Richard Hughes is very close to signing for Al Hilal in terms of being their new sporting director. So for me, please make that official as soon as possible. Probably take Slot with you or whilst you're at it as well. That's how I'm looking at it. So let's see, if there's any truth um, to that rumor. To be fair, um, number seven would be so sweet. I know, I know. I would love for us to see number seven. Um, let's see, because we don't know who we're facing in the next tie. So if we get a good one, you never know. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll just have to enjoy the ride and let's see where it takes us. Daz says Aussie off topic. Hobbs is on tonight. So is he on SmackDown? Because I heard rumors that he got sacked or he got fired due to something along the lines where he presented a fake age um to WWE. So I think that got dismissed. But if he's on today, that'd be good. In terms of how they present it. He's someone that I watched. I haven't watched AEW a lot in recent times, but I'd say I used to watch it a few years ago, and briefly on YouTube and stuff like that. And he was always someone that stood up for me. I thought he's someone that could um, come over to WWE and have an impact. There was another guy as well. Oh, what's his name? And I think they had a rivalry as well. Similar kind of build. I thought he would be an interesting one. Let me try and find his name before I close the show. What's his name? Okay, I'm going through the roster now, so let's see if I can find him quickly. Otherwise, I'll mention it on the next show. I can't seem to see who it is. No idea what his name is, unfortunately. I'll have to come back on that one. But there was another guy I thought was really good. Um, Brian Bro. Who's Brian Broby? Isn't that the Sunderland player? Brian. Yeah, that's a Sunderland striker. We're talking about wrestling here. So Miro, no, not Miro. He had like a similar build of Hobbs, but he had like a ponytail as well, like a short ponytail. And I think his finisher was the spear as well, from what I remember. That's gonna do my head in. No, I can't remember. I'll have to check it later on. But yeah, he looks like he's Lance Archer. I don't even think it was him. Oh God, what was his name? He had a rivalry with MJF. Let me see if I can find him now. I know I've gone a little bit off topic here, but yeah, wrestling is something that I've always had a sort of like a passion about, I guess, over the years. So, um, no, it's gone. I'm looking at pictures as well where I can kind of think into who it could be. No, no idea. It'll come back to me another time. Um, other than that, bloody, I was lost. Sorry, apologies. Went slightly off topic there. But yes, but that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to Bowl as always. Shout out to Ozan. Shout out to Daz. Shout out to JK for your comments. Appreciate your engagement as always, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. In terms of upcoming shows, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do the watch along tomorrow. Um, let's see if my kids allow me to do that. If not, I will definitely be doing a match reaction show, hopefully on Sunday evening. If not, I do apologize. This week's been a bit tricky for me in terms of managing my sort of schedule with the podcast and work and family stuff. So, if not, it'll have to be on Monday. But then next week, I'll be back to sort of normal scheduling. I'll be doing shows at more length because I feel like I've been doing shows at a bit more at a rush pace, unfortunately. So yeah, try and do a bit more long-winded content, and yeah, try and do a bit more regularly as well. Especially as we've got such a long layoff between games now. I'm not used to us playing, in limited competitions right now. So maybe we'll do some random shows next week. I was gonna say maybe some transfer shows. In terms of having an eye on the future, in terms of who Liverpool could sign and stuff like that. So um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I'll do. But we'll try and do some shows hopefully next week. Big up to JK. Thank you for coming on. Seth Rollins. No, it's not even. It's a guy from WWE, from AEW. So this is the other organization that is a rival um to. Oh, I've got his name now. I've got it. Wardlow. So I don't know if Daz, you know about Wardlow. Like he's someone I feel like would have been great at WWE, but he's picked up quite a few injuries over the years. So he's quite an explosive type of wrestler. If I was to compare someone like a Bron Breakker type, but I think Bron Breakker's a bit more athletic and he's able to do more sort of like acrobatic type moves. You know, he does a Frankensteiner from the top rope and stuff like that. So, so that's the one I feel like could come into the to WWE and have an impact. But unfortunately, he's had long injuries. Can he play right back? No, but he can play centre back, I'm sure. So he'd be a great addition to to our squad for sure. You know, he's quite built. So yeah, I'm sure he'll throw a few elbows here and there, especially if, you know, in set pieces. I've said it to you guys as well. I need my defenders to be a little bit dirty on the pitch. So you know, he'll definitely fit the bill there. Can he play left wing? Nah, he's not. He's not built for left wing, unfortunately. Um, Ozzy's putting Bromby on the side. You know, to be fair, I don't know nothing about Bromby. My missus' family live in a part of town in Denmark. But yeah, I really I should, but I don't really. Even her family don't even watch football like that, so I don't really have anyone to talk about when it comes to Bromby and, you know, how they're doing. So yeah, it's just one of those things where I'll have a look here and there, but I'm not really following, to be honest. For me, focus is Liverpool, and quite frankly, it's been difficult to focus on Liverpool, hasn't it? So I might have to try and explore and look at other clubs. Who knows? But let's see. Hopefully, you know, we can turn things around and compete once again. But yeah, let's see what the future holds. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.